have Jeremy Martin, CEO of Horizonte Minerals, an AIM-listed mineral exploration company in Brazil. Now, Jeremy, could you just give us an outline of your portfolio for Horizonte?
Yeah, no problem. We have a very simple business model. We were established just over 4 years ago, and the concept is to make new discoveries in Brazil and then partner them with major mining companies, which we've been successful in doing.
Okay, so what are the advantages of mineral exploration and hopefully leading into production in Brazil?
Brazil is a fantastic place to be focused. It's a huge land area. There are a lot of prospective terrains that have been poorly or had low-level exploration activity. And it was really only opened up to foreign companies 12 years ago. And today there are a small selection of junior companies, so we have got a first-mover advantage in Brazil. On top of that, there's a very good mining code, excellent support from the government, and a good environmental status as well. So all in all, it works very well from mining and development.
So earlier this year, you completed a major transaction to create a significant consolidated is an Araguaia nickel exploration development business. Could you explain the key details of this?
Yeah, we made a grassroots discovery around 18 months ago, which is called Lontra, and that was a nickel laterite project up in north-central Brazil in a region called the Carajás. Our discovery on its own wasn't sufficient to be a standalone mine, so we looked at consolidation opportunities around us. We had Xstrata to the north, and we had Teck to the south, and we were successful actually in acquiring the project from Teck. There's some pretty...
what did that involve?
There's some key sort of fundamentals to the deal. We were able to actually acquire 100% of the project from Teck, which is quite rare. They usually have sort of buybacks or clawbacks. There's none of those on this transaction. And in exchange, Teck took a 50% shareholding in us, so that really shows the sort of support that we're getting from Teck. Putting our Lontra project with Araguaia project creates a base case resource potential of 100 million tonnes with grades in line with producers around us, so it becomes a major company development asset.
What are your plans for moving the combined Araguaia project forward?
We have started the 8 to 12,000 metre drill programme, which we aim to have complete in Q1 next year. In parallel with that, we're working on the maiden resource statement, which will also be out in Q1. And then we will continue drilling until the end of Q2, which will be a update on the resource calculation with the aim of defining the 100 million tonnes. And then Q3, Q4 will be going into pre-feasibility study. So there are some fairly significant milestones and news flow that will be out in the marketplace over the next 8 to 12 months. Okay,
and so is there anything that's going to happen? Have you talked about the Anglo-Pacific deal?
I think there are a couple of things that we've got going on. We have a royalty agreement with Anglo-Pacific. They have an option to buy a 1.5% royalty for $12.5 million US on positive pre-feasibility study. So that gives you a sort of a flavour of the valuation that the project is worth.
And this is the Araguaia project?
That's purely on the Araguaia project. And we're in the middle of a 12,000 metre drill programme at the moment, and we aim to have the maiden resource out early in Q1 next year. So it's going to be a fairly aggressive timetable, and then taking the project into pre-feasibility late next year.
Okay, so if we look at the price of nickel, how does your Horizonte, how's Horizonte positioned, say, with your peers?
I think nickel prices at the moment are around $22,000 a tonne. The long-term fundamentals are good for nickel. There is shortages on the supply side. There are new operations coming online next year. There's robust demand out of China. I think the key is we're in a part of the world where you're on the upper end of the grade curve. All of the Brazilian examples are high-grade deposits, and they sit along the lower end of the cost curve. So if you're going to be producing nickel, this is a part of the world you want to be, and that's why we pushed so hard for the transaction.
Okay, so you're also into gold. Can you give us some details about your gold exploration in conjunction with partners or possible partners?
Yeah, we've obviously focused on the nickel so far, and we have a very active gold side to the business. We have 3 active joint ventures, 2 of those with Anglo Gold Ashanti, and they're putting in just under 10 million over the next 3 years. We have a regional program with Anglo called Santana, which was signed in September last year. And that is really about going out and making new discoveries in Brazil. Anglo have been very successful in Colombia. They've made a 14 million ounce discovery there. They have 2 producing mines in Brazil. and they're looking to expand that base, and they're using us as a platform to do that. So that's very exciting.
Yeah, and how is Horizonte positioned to go for more gold in Brazil? And is there a lot more to explore in Brazil?
I think coming back to our earlier conversation on Brazil being a large land area with prospective terrains, there are a significant number of regions that haven't had detailed modern-day explorations. That's part of how we aim to open up those belts, and also looking at some of the pre-existing projects that may have been explored or developed in the sort of 60s and 70s, but looking at those with new models and new data. So I think there's a lot of upside to come out of that. And the other deal we have with Anglo is on our Falcao project, Falcon, which is a significant gold anomaly up in the Carajás region. You've got infrastructure in that part of the world. And Anglo are spending $4.5 million to earn to 51% on that. So that's an exciting project we have with Anglo there.
And what about Troy Resources?
Troy is the third joint venture. We made an early or a small discovery up in southern Carajás. It wasn't big enough for us to develop as a standalone mine. Troy had their new Andarinas gold project 14 kilometres south. It was the logical place to treat the gold from that project. So we structured a deal where Troy could earn into 100% by spending $2.8 million, which they've done, and the exercise date for that is in December this year. So we'll see how that develops with Troy.
Okay, Horizonte has been, you know, it's very fundamental to your business has been these joint ventures. Can you talk about how important this has been to the company and future growth?
I think exploration is all about managing risk. It obviously it's a risk business. And what we look at is by partnering with major companies, you're reducing that exposure to risk, i.e. the major company is spending on the project, and the way the deals are structured, it allows us to have maximum upside and a free carry to pre-feasibility and onwards. And obviously each deal is a case-by-case basis. There are some projects that we will take forwards to development, and other projects we will look to partner. And part of the partnering strategy, number one, having AngloGold as a partner, it sort of rubber stamps the quality of the work we do. And obviously it gets awareness in the investor community. We have Teck as a major shareholder, 5th largest diversified mining company, and AngloGold as a project partner. So it's a very strong indictment of what our company does.
Why is Horizonte Minerals an attractive investment?
I think today, with a market cap of 35 million sterling at 14.5p, that values the pounds of nickel in the ground in Araguaia at about 1.5 cents per pound. Our junior company peer group on AIM and TSX, the mid-range on that peer group is about 4 to 5 cents a pound in the ground, with an upper end range of about 10 cents per pound in the ground. So there's a lot of upside to come out of the company going forwards. And that doesn't apply any value at this stage to the gold portfolio, so that's a sort of an optional extra, or if you want to focus on the gold, the nickel's an optional extra. It depends which way your commodity focus is.
Yeah. Gold bug or a nickel bug.
Exactly.
And so what sort of news flow can investors expect in the next 6 months?
We're going to be very active on the Araguaia nickel project. There is the 12,000 metre drill program, which will obviously deliver significant news flow from that. Maiden resource in Q1 on Araguaia, and then moving into pre-feasibility stage. And also there will be a TSX listing in Q1 next year.
And is there a need for another listing, and what's the idea behind that?
I think obviously London is a very good marketplace to be, and we feel that Canada will be a complementary offering to London. Teck is obviously a household name in Canada. They are a major partner. I think nickel is very well understood also in Canada, with Inco being again a sort of a household Canadian name. And South America. I think in London there are 4 or 5 AIM-listed companies in Brazil, whereas on the TSX there are 30 to 40. So it's a complementary marketplace for us to be.
Thank you, Jeremy, and we'll be watching Horizonte Minerals.